The twin suns of Heliax were setting. Golden light touched the wide grasslands. Birds with glowing wings flew across the sky. It was peaceful. Too peaceful. In the small village of Narrated, silence had a strange weight. The people of Heliax were quiet and soft-spoken. Their skin shimmered in blue tones, and they lived in harmony with nature. But lately, something was wrong. Very wrong. Elder Vori stood on a hill, watching the horizon. His eyes, once full of peace, now showed fear. Another village had gone dark last night. No smoke, no lights, no sounds. Just gone. They came again, he whispered to himself. No one ever saw them coming. No ship in the sky. No footsteps on the ground. Just screams in the night and then nothing. People vanished, children, mothers, even strong warriors. Houses left empty, food left cooking. At first, the Heliax believed it was a curse. Then they realized the truth. It was something worse. In the nearby forest, young Mira crept out of her hiding place. Her hands were shaking, her eyes wide. She had seen them. Shadows. Tall, armored creatures with long claws and glowing red eyes. They didn't speak. They didn't take food. They took people. She ran into the village, screaming, "They're here! They're coming again!" Panic spread. Quickly. Parents grabbed their children. Elders rang the warning chimes, but everyone knew it wouldn't help. The Tharn always found a way. The Tharn were a cruel alien species. They hunted for fun. Weakness was a game to them, and the Heliax were easy prey. Far from the village, deep underground, a group of elders gathered. Elder Vori placed a small silver disc on the stone table. It was old, dusty, and half-broken. A last hope. "This is an ancient device," he said. "From before the silence. It can send a signal across the stars." Elder Mela frowned. "Who will listen?" "No one has come to our aid in hundreds of years." "Maybe not," Vori said, "but we must try. If anyone hears us, or maybe they will help." They activated the device. It buzzed weakly. A low hum filled the room. Then a voice message played, soft and sad. "To anyone who can hear us, we are the people of Heliax. We are peaceful. We are being hunted. Please help us. They are killing us. We have no weapons. We have no warships. Please, anyone." The message repeated again and again, and the device sent it into deep space. Vori looked up at the ceiling. "Let the stars hear our cry." Outside, night fell, and with the night the Tharn returned. From the dark sky, black ships appeared without sound. They hovered above the trees, hidden by cloaking fields. One by one, they released their hunters. The Tharn wore bone-like armor. Their hands were large claws. Their movements were fast, like shadows jumping between light. Their eyes glowed like fire. They entered Narrated silently. The people ran. Screams echoed through the night. Doors were torn open. Children were dragged away. Some tried to fight, but their weapons were simple. The Tharn cut them down without mercy. Mira hid again, this time in a root cellar. She covered her mouth to stop her crying. Through the cracks in the floor, she saw one of the monsters pass by. It sniffed the air and paused. Mira held her breath. After a moment, it moved on. By morning, the village was silent again. Fires still burned. Smoke rose into the sky. Only a few villagers remained, too old or too lucky to be taken. The Tharn left as quickly as they came. No one knew why they always left survivors. Maybe to spread fear, maybe for sport. Far above the planet, the message from the silver disk continued. To fly across space, a weak, hopeless cry in the dark. But space is full of surprises. In a hidden outpost orbiting a small red star, an ancient satellite picked up the signal. It was a Terran listening station, forgotten by most. The computer woke up from sleep mode. Lights turned on. Systems scanned the message. Red lights flashed. An alert went straight to Earth, to a place even more hidden, a place that did not ignore distress calls. A woman in a black uniform opened the file. She listened carefully. Her name was Commander Raina Cross. She stood and gave one order. "Prepare a ship, we're going hunting." Heliax had cried out, and Earth had heard. Far away from Heliax, the planet Earth moved quietly through space. To many alien species, Earth was a forgotten place. It was small, dangerous, and full of wild storms, deadly creatures, and strange humans. Most called it a death world, a planet where only the toughest could survive. But the people of Earth were not just survivors. They were something else, something worse, or better, depending on which side you stood on. In a secret underground base deep below the mountains of North America, alarms began to ring. Red lights flashed, screens lit up. Old satellites had picked up something strange. A message, a distress signal, hundreds of years old in design but still working. Weak, cracked with static but clear enough. To anyone who can hear us, we are the people of Heliac. We are peaceful. We are being hunted. The message kept repeating, over and over. At first, the lower staff in the listening post didn't know what to do. They weren't used to real emergency signals. Most of the galaxy had gone quiet for years. Peace was holding, or so they thought. Then the file reached Terran. Command. Inside a black metal room with no windows, Commander Reyna Cross stared at the message. She had sharp eyes, short hair, and a calm face that had seen too many wars. She listened to the voice of the Heliax again. Then she pressed a button on her desk. All hands. Activate Ghost Protocol. Prepare TSV Wrath for immediate launch. Across the base, soldiers and pilots moved into action. Engineers fueled the engines. Mechanics loaded weapons. The Terran space vessel Wrath was not a large ship, but it was powerful, built for stealth, speed, and war. Earth didn't usually answer calls for help. The Terran Union had rules about that, but Reyna didn't care about rules when innocent lives were being hunted. She stood before her team and spoke in a clear voice. Heliax is a peaceful world. It's being attacked. No army, no ships, no defenses. They sent a message not meant for us. But we heard it anyway. And now, we answer. The team saluted. No one asked questions. They didn't need to. Meanwhile, in deep space, the TSV Wrath left Earth orbit silently. Its engines were hidden. Its systems were cold and dark to outside sensors. The ship was a shadow. It jumped into hyperspace, heading straight for Heliax. Back on the alien planet, the village of Narrated lay in ruins. Smoke still floated in the air. A few survivors hid underground. Mira was among them. She had not eaten in days. Her eyes were hollow, but her will was strong. She still believed someone would come. She didn't know that someone already had. 3 days after the distress call was received, the Wrath dropped out of hyperspace near Heliax. The ship scanned the planet. Commander Reyna watched the data on screen. Scorch marks, burned villages, no defenses, her officer reported. But signs of life. Survivors hiding in deep forests and caves. Any ships in orbit? Nothing visible, but... Ma'am, there's faint cloaking signals. It's Tharn tech. Reyna's face hardened. The Tharn, she said coldly. I've dealt with them before. They hunt the weak. They think fear is a weapon. She leaned closer to the screen. Well, let's show them what real fear feels like. She ordered a drone squad to drop quietly into the forests of Heliax. The drones were small, silent, and fast. They flew low, avoiding detection, capturing images of the damage. Reyna and her team watched in silence as the horrors appeared on screen. Burnt houses, broken bodies, cages made of bones. The Tharn had turned Heliax into a hunting ground. Send a warning message, she said. The communications officer blinked. To the Tharn? No, Reyna said. To the survivors. She stood straight and spoke into the mic. This is Commander Reyna Cross of the Terran Defense Force. To the people of Heliax, you are not alone. We are here. Stay hidden. Stay strong. Help is coming. The message was broadcast across the planet in simple pulses. It would reach anyone still alive, a spark of hope in the darkness. Below, in the ruins of Narrated, Mira heard the strange signal come through an old comm unit. She sat up, tears in her eyes. "They heard us," she whispered. "Someone heard us." High above, the Wrath turned, toward the planet's dark side, the hunting grounds of the Tharn. Commander Reyna looked at her crew. "Now," she said, "we hunt the hunters." Darkness covered the northern side of Heliax. The forests were quiet but not safe. Deep inside the trees, shadows moved. Not the wind, not animals, but hunters. Tharn hunters. Their tall bodies blended with the night. Their claws dripped with old blood. Their job was simple: find the weak, capture them, enjoy the fear. They thought no one would stop them, but high above the planet the sky was no longer empty. The TSV Wrath had entered low orbit. It was quiet. Invisible to scanners, hidden in the dark, like a ghost, a Terran ghost. Inside the ship, Commander Reyna Cross stood in front of her soldiers. Each one was wearing black armor, marked with a symbol, a white hand gripping a sword. The emblem of Earth's Special Forces. "These aren't just slavers," Reyna said. "They enjoy what they do, that's why we're not waiting. We go down, quiet, fast, no warnings." "Yes, Commander," her troops shouted. Reyna looked at her pilot. "Drop the forward team, I want eyes on the ground in 5 minutes." Moments later, 3 stealth pods shot from the belly of the Wrath. They cut through the atmosphere silently and landed deep in the forest. Inside one pod, Sergeant Keller checked his weapon. His face was calm, focused. This wasn't his first mission. It would not be his last. "Keep your eyes open," Keller said to his squad. "The Tharn don't scream. They kill in silence." The team moved out, their suits bending light, making them nearly invisible. They advanced slowly through the trees. Drones buzzed above, feeding live images back to Reyna on the ship. Then, they found the first camp. The Tharn had built it into the side of a cliff. Bone cages hung from trees. Alien bodies lay motionless. Some were still breathing, barely. Keller whispered into his comm, "We found them. Survivors and Tharn tech. A lot of it." Commander Reyna watched from orbit. "Mark, all targets, do not engage yet." But down below something changed. A child's cry broke the silence. One of the Heliax children had slipped out of a cage trying to escape. A Tharn guard noticed. He moved fast. Sergeant Keller didn't wait. He raised his rifle. One shot. Crack. The Tharn's head snapped back. Its body dropped. The camp exploded in panic. The other Tharn grabbed weapons, searching for the attacker. But the humans were already moving. One by one, the special forces took them down. Silent, fast, brutal. Reyna listened to the battle. "So much for quiet," she said with a small smile. "They'll know we're here now." She turned to Y, her second in command. "Get ready to deploy the rest. Tell the Tharn we've arrived." Back in the forest, Keller's team had cleared the camp. He walked up to the child, a small blue-skinned girl with glowing eyes. "You're safe now," he said gently. She didn't understand his words, but she saw his face. He was not Tharn. He was something else. Stronger, scarier, but kind. One of the freed Heliax villagers looked up at Keller. "Are you gods?" Keller shook his head. "No, we're from Earth." The name meant nothing to them, but it would soon. The team moved the survivors to a safe area and called for pickup. Back on the Wrath, more pods prepared for launch. Earth wasn't sending one ship anymore. Reinforcements were coming. The Terran fleet was on the move, but before that, Reyna had a message to send. She opened a special channel. It was unencrypted, public. It would reach the Tharn. "This is Commander Reyna Cross of Earth," she said coldly. "You have preyed on the helpless. You have hunted without mercy." She paused. Her voice sharpened. "Now, we hunt you." She ended the message. Somewhere far in space, a Tharn war leader heard the words. He laughed at first. One ship, one species. He didn't know what humans were. He didn't understand what a death worlder really meant. Not yet. But he would. Very soon. The Eye. Tharn were not afraid of many things. They had ruled the shadows of the galaxy for years. They were hunters, killers, and masters of fear. But now something was different. Something had changed on Heliax. The prey had screamed for help. And someone answered. The Terrans. Word spread, fast among the Tharn camps. One of their hunting outposts had gone silent. No survivors, no signals. Just blood and broken armor. Some believed it was a trap. Others thought it was a ghost. But one war leader, Commander Scar, laughed when he heard the message from Earth's commander Reyna Cross. She thinks she can scare us? Scar growled. His armor was black and covered in the bones of past victims. His eyes burned with cruel fire. Let her come. I will wear her skull on my shoulder. He didn't understand yet, but he would. On the other side of the planet, inside, the TSV Wrath Commander Reyna was preparing for war. The rescue team had saved 30 Heliax villagers so far. The survivors were scared, weak, and shocked. But they were alive, and now it was time to stop playing defense. Reyna stood before her soldiers. The room was filled with silent, armored humans. Each one had trained for years. Each one had seen war. But this mission was different. You've seen what they've done, Reyna said. They don't just kill. They break the helpless. They take children. They enjoy it. Her voice turned sharp. But we're not here to cry. We're here to end it, she pointed to the map behind her. We found their largest camp, 10 clicks east, deep in the mountains. This is where they're hiding their prisoners, and where their war leader is. She looked at her team. We go in quiet. We leave nothing standing. The pods launched again. This time, more teams dropped. Dozens of Terran soldiers entered. The forests. Night vision on. Weapons ready. No mercy. Near the Tharn Mountain camp, guards walked lazily, thinking they were safe. But they didn't hear the humans coming. Not until it was too late. A flash of red light. A loud boom. The first tower exploded. Then came the shadows. The Terrans moved like monsters from nightmares. Their armor shimmered. Their guns roared. Their hands pulled Tharn warriors from the dark and broke them. Sergeant Keller's squad stormed the prison cages. Secure the hostages, he shouted. Lasers flashed through the bars, cutting the locks. Heliax children cried as soldiers pulled them to safety. Above them, drones circled. They dropped fire on fleeing Tharn. The sky burned. Commander Scar finally appeared, roaring with rage. His claws were long, his armor thick. He charged at the humans like a wild beast. He didn't get far. Commander Reyna herself landed in a drop pod, stepping out with a heavy plasma rifle in hand. She looked at Scar without fear. You like hunting? She asked. So do we. Scar ran at her. She shot him in the leg, then the chest, then straight between his burning eyes. The Tharn leader fell, twitching. Dead. The other Tharn tried to run, but the humans gave no chance. They moved like shadows, faster than fear. Just 20 minutes, the largest Tharn camp on Heliax was gone, burned, broken, silent. Commander Reyna walked through the ashes. Her armor was scratched, her eyes cold. She looked at the freed Heliax villagers kneeling in fear. Get up, she said softly. You're safe now. One of them, an elder with a shaking voice, looked up. Are you like the Tharn? Reyna thought for a moment. No, she said. We just look like monsters. But we fight for the weak. The elder nodded slowly. Then, maybe the stars sent the right monsters this time. Reyna smiled just a little. Maybe. Back on the TSV Wrath, reports came in. The Tharn were retreating, their other camps were going dark. Fear was spreading among them. True fear, because for the first time the hunters were being hunted, and Earth wasn't finished yet. The signal from Heliax had reached more than one Terran ship. Across the stars, more warships were now turning, their eyes toward the forgotten planet. The Tharn thought they had found easy prey, but what they had awakened was far worse. The skies over Heliax were no longer quiet. In the past, only Tharn ships had entered orbit. Silent, cold machines of death. They came like shadows, took what they wanted, and left nothing behind. But now, new ships had arrived. Human ships. The TSV Wrath was just the beginning, one small flame in the dark. Now the fire had grown. From the far reaches of space, the Terran fleet came, huge black ships, shaped like knives and beasts. They didn't glow with gold or shine with banners like other alien empires. They came silent and gray like death moving through the stars. Above Heliax, ship after ship appeared. The TSV Vengeance, the TSV Hammerfall, the TSV Black Horizon, warships built on a death world, by a species forged in fire. Commander Reyna Cross stood on the bridge of the Wrath, staring at the growing fleet. They answered the call. She whispered. Her second-in-command, Captain Harlan, nodded. All of them, from every region, Special Forces, Orbital Command, even a carrier group, Earth's full hand is on the table. Reyna's eyes narrowed. Then we end this. The humans were no longer here to protect. They were here to destroy. Below, on the planet's surface, the Tharn were in chaos. Camps were burning. Survivors were fleeing into the mountains. Some tried to call for help from their homeworld. No answer came. The Tharn Empire had left them behind. One warlord, named Jakar, tried to gather his remaining warriors. He stood on a broken cliff, roaring commands. His eyes burned with hate. They are just one species, he shouted. We have taken hundreds of worlds. We are Tharn. We do not run. But behind him, his men looked nervous. Some had seen what the Terrans could do. Some had seen humans rip through metal walls with bare hands. Others had watched. A black-armored woman kill their war leader in one shot. One of his scouts ran up, panting. They're here, he whispered. Above us. Many ships. Too many. Jakar looked up. In the sky, dark shapes moved slowly across the clouds. The Reckoning fleet had begun its descent. Human drop pods rained down like falling stars. Hundreds of them. They lit the skies with fire. Each pod carried a small team of soldiers. Each soldier carried the wrath of a world that never forgot how to fight. One by one, the pods hit the surface with thunder. The ground shook, then silence. And then came the war cries. Human forces spread out across the planet. They moved like wolves, sweeping every valley, forest, and ruin. Their orders were clear. No Tharn left behind. In one ruined village, Mira, the young Heliax girl, who had survived the first attack, watched the sky with wide eyes. Beside her stood a Terran soldier, tall and quiet. He handed her food and water, then gently checked the bandages on her arm. "Why did you come?" she asked softly. The soldier looked down at her, his face hidden behind a black visor. Because no one else did. Elsewhere, on a high mountain, Ridge Commander Reyna led a full assault on the last known Tharn base. It was strong, walls of stone and metal, anti-air guns, hidden turrets, but it didn't matter. The TSV Vengeance fired first, sending a rail cannon blast straight through the mountain gates. The explosion could be seen from miles away. Then came the ground teams. Reyna moved with her squad, clearing the path with brutal speed. The humans didn't use fear. They used precision, teamwork, fury. Inside the base, Tharn soldiers fought back. They screamed, charged, and tried every trick they had used on other worlds. But humans didn't break. They pushed. When the smoke cleared, only one side stood. Reyna stepped over broken armor and shattered weapons. Her voice came through all comms. "Heliax is free. The Tharn are broken." Cheers came through the channels, not loud, but proud. It was over. Not just a rescue, not just a mission, a message. Back in orbit, the Reckoning fleet sent out a signal. It was broadcast in every known galactic language, plain and simple. "We heard the cry, we answered, we are human. Hurt the helpless again and we will come. Across the galaxy, species who had once feared the Tharn now whispered a new name. Earth, and some began to hope. The fires on Heliax had just begun to cool. Smoke still rose from broken Tharn bases. The sky was clear again, and the people of Heliax were free. But far beyond the planet, in space stations, trade routes, and hidden worlds, the galaxy had started to change, because everyone saw what Earth did. The video went viral across thousands of species. A simple clip, a black-armored human stepping through fire, holding a wounded alien child. Behind them, a burning Tharn warship crashed to the ground. That one moment told a story. A species that didn't come to trade, didn't come to rule. They came with fury, for justice. The galaxy had always known Earth was a death world, a planet where life fought to survive every day. But they thought humans were quiet, young, contained. Now they knew better. On the planet Zaroon, a council of scholars reviewed the footage. They were a peaceful race, soft, thin beings with long necks and gentle eyes. One scholar, Elder Thali, stared at the human soldiers on the screen. "I once feared the Tharn," she said. "Now, I fear something else." Her student looked, confused. "Fear the humans?" Thali shook her head. "No, I fear what will happen if the wrong ones challenge them again." On the Grask homeworld, a mercenary warlord laughed as he watched the same video. His voice was rough, his armor thick with dried blood. "I like these humans," he growled. "They fight like monsters. Maybe we should work together." Some wanted to ally with Earth, others feared them, but all understood one thing. The galaxy had changed. Back on Heliax, the rebuilding had started. The Heliax people worked together, fixing homes and healing wounds. But they didn't work alone. Terran engineers helped repair water systems. Medics treated the sick. Drones rebuilt roads. It wasn't just soldiers anymore. Earth had sent builders. One young Heliax boy looked up at the Terran drones flying overhead. "They didn't leave after the fight," his mother nodded. "Because they didn't just come to kill, they came to protect." Commander Reyna stood in the middle of a half-burned village, watching the children play. It was the first time in days she had removed her helmet. The sunlight touched her scarred face. A Heliax elder approached her slowly. "We owe you our lives," he said. Reyna shook her head. "You owe us nothing. Just live. That's enough." The elder looked at the sky. "Many will remember what you did here." "I hope they do," she replied. "Not because we want thanks, but so no one tries this again." Elsewhere in space, on a secret Tharn world, a high-ranking survivor slammed his fists on a table. "They were just humans," he roared. "But they weren't normal," another Tharn whispered. "They were trained, prepared. They were waiting." The Tharn Council sat in silence. Their power had cracked. Fear had crept into their cold hearts. For the first time, the Tharn knew what it felt like to be prey. On a galactic news channel, a popular alien journalist spoke in front of a crowd. Heliax was a forgotten world, abandoned, left for the Tharn to destroy. But one signal changed everything. One cry reached ears no one expected. She paused. And those ears belonged to Earth. She looked into the camera, serious now. They didn't come for profit, they didn't ask for tribute. They sent warships, soldiers, doctors, and a promise. If you hurt the helpless, they will come for you. That message traveled farther than any Tharn ship had ever gone. In the dark corners of the galaxy, slavers, pirates, and tyrants began to worry. The helpless were whispering again, but this time with hope. Maybe the humans will hear us too. Meanwhile, in Earth's command center, deep under the surface of their planet, a new list was being made. More cries for help. More worlds like Heliax. Commander Reyna stood before the map again, hands behind her back. She looked at the red lights, blinking across the stars. "Where to next?" Captain Harlan asked. Reyna's voice was calm. Wherever the monsters are, the stars were no longer silent. Ever since Heliax was saved, distress calls had started pouring in from across the galaxy. Worlds that had been too afraid to speak were now begging for help. Small colonies, hidden planets, lost races. They all had one hope. Earth. Inside the Terran command ship, TSV Vengeance, a giant screen lit up with blinking red dots, each one a cry for help. Commander Reyna Cross stood still, her eyes moving across the map. "These are all real?" she asked. Captain Harlan nodded. "Confirmed. Verified by our scouts. Same pattern. Slavers, raiders, Tharn remnants. Some worse." Reyna looked down for a moment. Then she spoke firmly. "We don't wait, we move." And so the hunt began, not for land, not for gold, not for power, but for justice. Terran fleets split into smaller strike groups, each heading toward different corners of the galaxy. They didn't bring flags, they brought fire. On the desert moon, Zarek 4, Tharn raiders had trapped an insectoid species, called the Tika. The Tika couldn't fight. They hid underground, whispering old prayers. One day the ground shook. Terran drop pods fell from the sky like iron rain. The Tharn screamed as humans moved through the dust like ghosts, sharp, fast, unstoppable. Every cage was opened, every slave freed. The humans didn't stay for thanks. They left behind food, medicine, and a warning. Don't ever return. On the jungle world Quental, pirates ruled with fire and fear. They burned villages and took children until a Terran Black Ops team arrived. They didn't speak. They didn't negotiate. They erased the pirate base in one night. In the morning, the villagers found weapons, clean water, and a simple message carved into a stone. "You are not alone." Word spread like a storm. All across the galaxy, stories began to rise. Whispers of humans in black armor who appeared from nowhere, destroyed the monsters and vanished. Some called them Deathwalkers. Others called them Guardians from the Grave World. But the name that stuck was the one the survivors gave them: the Reckoners. Even species that had never trusted humans before started reaching out. A message came from the ice planet Yalora, where an empire known as the Varniks had been enslaving the locals for over 60 years. The message was short, weak, and broken. "Help us, if you're real." Reyna read it and nodded once. "Send the Wrath. Full strike team. No mercy." Within 2 Earth days, the Varniks' fortress was in flames. The slaves were free. The Varniks' overlord was found tied to a post with a Terran military tag shoved into his mouth. The message was clear. Earth didn't play politics. They didn't make speeches. They ended nightmares. Back on Heliax, young Mira had grown stronger. She helped rebuild villages and taught other children how to read. But every night she watched the stars, wondering where the humans had gone next. She wasn't the only one. In marketplaces, temples, and war rooms, leaders of alien worlds asked the same question: where will the humans strike next? Some were scared, others were grateful. And a few, dark-hearted rulers began to plan against Earth. One of them was watching from a secret moon. He wore golden robes and sat on a throne made of bones. His name was High Lord Vexer, and he ruled over 5 star systems with fear. He turned to his generals. "These humans are trouble," he hissed. "They burn without asking questions. They fight like beasts." One general nodded. "They're coming, my lord. If we don't act—" "I know," Vexer snapped. Then he leaned forward, his voice cold. "Send a message. A fake distress call. A trap. Let's see what happens when we make them bleed." Somewhere deep in the stars, the trap was already being prepared, and Earth was already on its way. The distress call came from a planet called Veltrax 7. It sounded real, just like Heliax, a desperate voice begging for help, speaking of slavers and death. The signal was weak, broken, full of fear. But it was a lie. High Lord Vexer had made it himself, using recordings from past victims. He wanted to bait the humans, to bring them in close, to make them suffer. The trap was ready. Thousands of hidden cannons, EMP mines, cloaked warships in orbit, and elite killers waiting underground. Vexor smiled as he watched from his throne. Let them come. Let them believe they are. Heroes, we will bury them here. But Earth didn't send just one ship. They sent 3. The TSV Wrath, the TSV Nightfall, and the command carrier, TSV Resolute. Commander Raina Cross was aboard the Resolute, standing with her best soldiers. She had seen many battles, but something felt off. She watched the planet below on the screen. No signs of life. No heat signals. No movement. Too quiet, she said. Something's wrong. Captain Harlan checked the scans. No refugees, no smoke, no power readings from the surface. If this place was under attack, it's already over. Raina didn't blink. Or never started. She turned to her team. We go in, but we go ready. They dropped in fast. Black-armored soldiers in tight formation. Their boots hit the cold dirt of Veltrax 7. The silence was heavy. No cries, no wreckage, no buildings. Just rock and mist. Then the ground exploded, mines detonated under their feet. Cannons fired from hidden hills. Invisible drones swarmed from the sky. It was a kill zone. Raina's team took cover. Some soldiers were hit, but they didn't break. They moved like a machine, firing back, covering each other. Above, the sky turned red. Enemy ships uncloaked and opened fire on the Terran fleet. One Terran frigate took a hit and spun out of orbit. High Lord Vexor watched the chaos and laughed. Yes, yes, now they bleed. Now they learn fear. But he had made one mistake. He thought humans were like the rest of the galaxy. They weren't. Even when trapped, they fought. Raina shouted into comms. Call the reserves. Send in the Blackguard. Bring the hammer. From the TSV Resolute, new pods launched, bigger, heavier. They hit the surface and cracked the earth. Out stepped the Blackguard, the most dangerous unit in the Terran military, silent, cold, built for death. They didn't speak. They just advanced. High Lord Vexor watched as his forces began to fall. One by one, his bunkers exploded. His traps failed. His killers were crushed. This isn't possible, he whispered. Raina and her team broke through the last line and stormed the underground base. Inside, they found screens showing Vexor's throne room. Live feed. Raina stared into the camera, and she spoke. You wanted us to bleed. Now feel what it means to be hunted. Then she gave the order. Above the planet, the TSV Nightfall turned its railgun toward the moon where Vexor was hiding. The shot hit like a god's fist. Vexor's palace disappeared in a burst of light. Gone. The trap had failed. Earth had won. Again. Later, when the survivors were safe and the injured treated, the Terran fleet sent out one final message. This was a trap. It failed. We do not come for power. We do not come to rule. We come because someone must. We are the Reckoners. We hear your cries. And if you hunt the helpless, we will hunt you. Across the stars, millions watched. The helpless cheered. The tyrants shook. And the name Earth was now spoken with both fear and hope. Mira, now living on a peaceful Heliax, looked at the night sky. She smiled. They came for us, she whispered, and they'll come for others too. Because, in a galaxy full of monsters, the humans answered the call, and the galaxy would never forget them.